You guys, what do I do with you here? I'll move on. That's what I'll do. A school in Derbyshire. Have you seen this? Honestly, I say it often, Wales gone mad. Anyway, kids as young as 11 were told that they could come into school in full-blown drag if they wanted to, rainbows and all the rest of it, to express themselves for a pride event. I've got to say, there has been a bit of a backlash against this. I'll start with you on this. The school itself has essentially rode back from this now. They're not going to do it. They say, basically, oh, yeah, we don't want to distract the kids that are doing GCSEs. Anyway, your thoughts on it? Do you think they should have even suggested this, done this in the first place?
Nobody's forcing them to do it. I think pride is a wonderful thing, and I think...
Why?
Because it allows people to be open and out about their sexuality instead of having to worry and hide and fear criminal prosecution.
But this is about criminal prosecution. You don't get criminally prosecuted in this country.
Not now, you don't, but you did.
Well, what's that got to do with now?
But because we've moved on.
Exactly.
So pride is good.
Then?
Well, I think pride is a good thing, and I think. Well, I've just said why.
No, but the reason you've just told me why. You've said so that people can come out without fear of prosecution, but you're not going to be prosecuted. Life's moved on, as you've just also concluded. So why do I need to, when I go get a tin of baked beans, be bombarded with rainbows? Why?
Because it's celebrating everybody. It's about... I mean...
It's not. It's celebrating a tiny fraction of the population which I belong to. And I am fed up of what were alternative causes, like gay rights, black rights, whatever, being turned into a new compulsory mainstream. I mean, you've talked about a school in Derbyshire. I happen to bank with Coots. I want to vomit when I see the Queen's banker plastering itself in rain.
He's rich, dear listeners, he's rich. If you don't know that reference, basically he's telling us on the sly he's minted. Anyway, carry on.
But it just seems to me that this is the bizarre thing. We've decided that what was essentially 60s counterculture is now mainstream and is compulsory. We have this series of history months, of pride days, of whatever, and it seems to me simply to be wrong. It's as tiresome as, you know, having to stand up and salute flags, and is actually much more damaging.
But this is not compulsory at this school. We're talking about a school in Derbyshire. If you unpick
But sorry, if a school, forgive me, if a school says we're going to have a Pride Day, for children, effectively it is. Can you imagine if it had gone ahead, the one child who doesn't turn up with painted toenails or whatever it is? Now, also it seems to me parents should have
what about if you're religious anyway?
I was going to say parents should have a moral choice on this.
Nobody is saying it is compulsory. I mean,
why is it there in the fact? Why do children who go to school to be educated on, I don't know, mastery, why do those children need to be involved in celebrating the sexuality of adults?
In fact, I'm sorry, isn't it actually, forgive me, isn't it actually, if you look at the curriculum, a version of this is compulsory. I don't have at my fingertips what is, there's a special term now for, you know, social, sexual or whatever it is, education. But being told about these things is at a surprisingly young age. And many parents, and particularly of our ethnic minorities, find this profoundly troubling, and in my view, rightly so.
Right, so let's come back in.
Yeah, but sorry, why should institute? Right, why? My question to you is, why should institutions be interfering in any way in what is an intensely personal matter?
OK, there are several points to unpick here. Let's start with the corporates, and I completely agree with you that it is just like any sort of, oh, let's jump on that bandwagon, whether it's greenwashing, whether it's social mobility, whether it's whatever it is. And I completely agree with you that a lot of it is just stick up a banner, but does it actually work in practice? But I think in order to be less prejudiced, it's quite good that these things are out there, and it's fun. You don't have to be gay to go on a pride march. You don't have to be gay to get involved in the carnival atmospheres that are in Margate or Brighton or wherever. And I think...
Are you comfortable? I mean, I speak as a gay man, and we won't discuss the issue of sexual practices. Are you comfortable with people turning up in leather bondage gear at these things? I mean, do you know what I think?
Where are these leather bondage things? Which people turning up
no,
where?
I mean, they are regular participants in Pride.
you've asked
and in other words, isn't it, what I'm trying to say is this is a bizarre turning inside out of what should be personal and private experiences. Which, I mean, you were talking about the business of sexual relations, of pregnancy and whatever. And what we've started to do, and celeb culture is part of the reason for it, the whole business of social media, we started to turn ourselves inside out. I mean, once upon a time, you know, there were things that you couldn't possibly say, everything to do with sex. Now it's virtually compulsory. People are expected to talk about it openly,
but
and in a fashion.
I've forgotten what the question was.
I remember what it was. He's asking you: are you comfortable then seeing? You're talking about Pride marches when you see men dressed in
or indeed women
gear, women fetish gear, leather get-up, all the rest of it, with children wandering around,
with large penises.
Let me answer the question. I've never seen anybody at a Pride march or a Pride event wearing large penises. They may have large penises, but I have never seen them on display. Just this thing about drag, I think this is a whole nonsense that's being whipped up. We have pantomime dames. We have, you know, a history where men dressed as women because women weren't allowed to be actors in order to perform in Shakespeare's plays and many other plays. Dressing up for World Book Day.
Right, you have Mrs Doubtfire as well, right?
Yeah,
so yes,
Mrs Doubtfire.
Yes, hang on, but there is a monumental difference. So the things you're talking about, pantomime dames, Mrs Doubtfire and all the rest of it, when you look at things like some of these drag queen acts that are going to... children parents taking their kids to these drag... That's not this. This is men dressed as sexualised women, often doing sexualised activity, gyrating and all the rest of it. It's appalling if you ask me, and I think there's something not quite right upstairs if you take your kids to those events.
Well, but it's people's choice and it's on television. You know, people watch drag race, drag programmes. Blimey, we were watching Danny LaRue when David and I were young.
Well, indeed. But that was, again, Danny LaRue was in many ways desexualised. I mean, the extraordinary thing that, of course, did become very popular was Lily Savage. I don't know whether you ever went to the Black Cap. I did. You've never heard such a stream. Very funny if you're a gay man and pissed. Very unfunny.
Drunk is the word,
very unfunny if it's put into a different context of a school.
Well,
and I mean, let me make a confession. I'm astonished.
Is this going to be a very quick confession?
Yeah, I'm astonished at listening to myself sounding like an old prude. But it does seem to me that this aggressive and deliberate sexualisation of children is profoundly dangerous, profoundly damaging, and we are reaping terrible consequences.
I have to say, I agree with you on that one. I want to throw that open to you at home as well. I think it's almost a little bit embarrassing, actually. The second the